It's time for another video, and on this I forgot to turn off the AC. It's time for another video. And in this video, I kind of want to talk about Taiwan. I want to talk about the photos from Taiwan, and I really didn't want to do another sit-down talking video, but I also really feel like I kind of need to process what happened in Taiwan and kind of process my feelings and my feelings about not vlogging and what that's meant and my growth as a photographer. I kind of just need my therapist, and if you guys have been with this channel for a long time, you've always been my therapist, so bear with me as I talk about my photos from Taipei and just kind of the differences that I've been feeling since I stopped vlogging, because it's been so weird. And to be honest, at the start, it was really hard. It was like vlogging was such a big part of my life that it was emotional to give it up. It was like deciding to change careers almost. It was just a huge part of my life, and it's been taking me some time to process it and try to figure out what life is like after the vlog. And Taiwan was really the first time that I went out and shot where I wasn't vlogging daily. And at first it was really overwhelming. It was like I just felt like this loss of a purpose. I just didn't feel like I had any purpose, and it was really strange. I think it all comes down to the fact that I used to run around the world like crazy, shooting from dawn until dusk, trying to, fulfill contracts or on assignments or doing work for magazines or newspapers and stuff like that. I really needed to make photos to survive. So I used to go out and shoot with a purpose to make money, to make a living, to be able to put food on my plate. And then I started vlogging, and when I started vlogging, there was a purpose. Again, it was teaching, it was instructing, it was showing you guys the world, it was inspiring. There was a purpose to my photos, and yes, sometimes I was on assignments when I was vlogging, and I was, doing magazine articles when I was vlogging and stuff like that. But during this past kind of year, there was this transition that happened that I didn't realize, where I went from, working as a photographer to being a YouTuber. And I didn't realize this thing was happening. And there is a big difference between the two. The first being your main goal as a photographer is making photos to sell. Your main goal as a YouTuber is making photos to show people on YouTube. And I didn't even realize I'd gone through this transition until I stopped vlogging, because there I was in Taiwan without a purpose, without a reason for taking the pictures. And I just felt so lost. The first day I went out to shoot pictures, and I was just like, what's my purpose with these images? What is my goal with these images? What do I want to make? What do I want to do with my life? And then by about day 2, I kind of came to this realization that I can do whatever I want. And I felt this like pressure just pop off my shoulders, because I no longer had to do anything for anybody but myself. And I know that sounds super selfish, but it was really liberating. I could literally, for the first time in my life, go out and take pictures just because I wanted to go out and take pictures. I started travel photography because I was travel writing, and the editors were like, Brendan, we need better photos from you in order to publish these articles. So I picked up photography, and then the career evolved from there. So I started taking pictures as a tourist and, in like high school and junior high and stuff like that. But I started taking travel photography seriously when I started doing it as a career. So I never had this time in my life where I was just going out to take pictures for fun. And I know that sounds crazy and weird, but Taiwan was my first time to do that, and it was great. And I want to share with you guys the images I took in Taiwan, because on the episode where I talked about selling photos for a magazine or newspaper, I said that you should have like a mini portfolio of 10 to maybe 15 images that you can send to an editor in hopes of selling a story. And so I thought it would be cool for me to put together 10 to 15 images and show them to you guys to kind of give you an idea of what that portfolio or that mini portfolio from a destination should look like. So I'm going to grab my computer, I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to show you guys the images because I'm quite happy with them. So the first image is the first image I took on the whole trip. It's just kind of like almost a bit of a hero image. It's just something that a magazine could stick on their front page of an article and say, like, this is Taiwan. It's very Taipei. It's a simple photo. It's just a monument framed by the gate, but it is something that works. And then let's jump to the next one. The next one is this pano that I actually really love. And the pano is funny because I think I would have never taken this image if I was vlogging. The only way I would have taken this image if I was vlogging was if I was doing a video about how to do panos. I don't usually do a whole lot of panos, and this was maybe the one moment of that morning where the light was decent. You can see there's like a purple tinge from the sunrise. And I think that if I was vlogging, I would have been racing to try to capture something really incredible or really epic during that light. But I didn't feel as much stress to make the image. So I was like, you know what? Let's try to do something different and see if it works. And I do think it works. From a magazine standpoint, in general, crops that are odd are a pain for a publisher because they usually have their general outlines that they work with, and if one of those general outlines doesn't include a pano, it's basically useless to them. But I would include an image like this every now and then because some magazines do like to use panos across 2 pages as like a header or a footer or something like that. So I might throw in a pano every now and then just for fun. Next image is this one. I never, ever would have gotten this photo if I was vlogging. Because the way I usually vlog is I film in the morning at sunrise, I shoot pictures at sunrise, then I walk around in the middle of the day and I shoot B-roll and film the day. Rarely do I ever just have my camera slung around my neck to take photos and snapshots when I'm walking around. But in Taiwan, I was like shooting B-roll at sunrise, taking pictures, and then in the middle of the day every now and then I just stick the vlogging camera away and I would just pull out my, stills camera and take pictures. And this was one of those moments, one of those times that I did that. I never used to do this when I was vlogging, and I really love the photo. It's a pretty basic photo, but it works. It's got that yellow taxi, it's got the arrow pointing down the road. This was basically the camera shop street, which is another thing I love about this image, but it just works, and like I said, never would have got that photo if I was vlogging. Also, would have never got this photo if I was vlogging. Because when I was vlogging, I was almost too focused on getting one really, really good image. Whereas when I was out shooting this time, I didn't have that pressure. So I was really interested in also working with some details and trying to get some more mediocre images. And it is a mediocre image. It's not a great image, but it's the type of image that a magazine would love. And in general, that big epic hero image, yeah, it sells. But the images that I sell the most are usually just average, normal looking images, something like this. Again, would have never shot this image, maybe not only when I was vlogging, but over the past couple of years. I love to eat. I eat a lot of food. I never photograph the food. It's not something that vlogging pulled me away from. It's just, I don't know, I feel stupid taking pictures of food, but food's such an important part of the culture and of travel in general, so I really wanted on this trip to photograph the food here or there. I took 4 or 5 pictures of food from this trip that I really like. This one's from the Taiwanese tea ceremony that we had. It was phenomenal, and I'm glad I got a photo of it because it's a good memory. Next image from that street. This is an image I kind of want to talk about super fast because I think it's important because it's editorial, but it also looks like a made photo. And I think that's a huge thing in selling work to travel magazines or newspapers, is finding this balance between editorial and creative. So yes, this is a very editorial image. It's an image of the streets, but just by adding a little bit of motion and a slow shutter to it, it makes it a made photo, and those type of images really, really sell well in editorial. Terrible sunrise on Elephant Mountain. Absolutely got skunked that morning. Still managed to walk away with an image that I could send to an editor. I think no matter what, you always need a cityscape image if you're gonna sell an article to a magazine, even if it's not great. But I do like this image because even though we got terrible light, I feel like I managed to do something a little bit different. I've seen hundreds of images from up here, but they're all kind of just the skyline. I hadn't seen something that had this foreground of the walking path and stuff like that. So I like that it's a little bit different, and it's definitely something I would include in my mini portfolio. Photo of trains. Trains always do well. Everybody loves trains. You've seen Joe Allen's recent video about trains. Fantastic. This is a train leaving this town, and it's a very snapshotty image, but I love all the people in the front of the train with their cameras up and just enjoying that moment, and it's a very, very travel image. And again, it's got that editorial feel to it that really does well in selling for magazines. boom, waterfall. And it's like out of nowhere, all these photos that are kind of editorial style, and then you've got a waterfall photo. But the light was just too good on this image not to put in this portfolio. It wasn't great light, but the way it was backlit just made it work. And I think even if you're selling an article about Taipei, about a city, it's really cool to include a nature image from nearby in case the editor you know, just wants to include a bit of nature or a day trip or like a little mini story attached to it. Or better yet, let's say they hate the story about Taipei. They're like, it's not something we're interested in. But they see this image and they go, but you do have that cool waterfall photo. Do you have something about the nature in Taipei? It kind of opens that door. So street photo, this was my favorite photo from our first day. I was vlogging when I shot that image and I love it. I don't know what it is about it. I think it's just this look on his face and then the light's beautiful. So travel. When you're shooting travel, you need to include people in your photos. You might remember my first image from this take. You see the gate and you see the monument, but you don't realize how big they are. And I didn't realize how big they were when I was doing my research before Taipei. I was like, oh, it looks kind of cool there. I got there and I was blown away by how massive it was. So including a person shows that scale. It shows the viewer how big a place is. And it also kind of gives that feeling to the viewer of the photos to think, I want to go there. I want to be that person in that photo. This is probably the best light I got the whole trip. And what I want to talk about with this image is kind of framing. There's a bunch of dead space at the top of the image. That's the type of image that they could use as a cover because magazines, they always put the magazine name at the very top of the cover. And so you need some dead space up at the top that they can play with to put their, you know, magazine name up there. So I always try to include at least one, usually 2 or 3 images that they could potentially use as covers into my mini portfolio. Cool photo. I don't know if I have anything to say about it other than I like it. It's a very simple photo, but it's like that architecture that you just need to include into a magazine. This might be my favorite image from the whole trip. It's a street photo. It's cool, and I think it is because of the rule of odds, the rule of threes. You've got these 3 people in the front of the frame, the girl who's like texting or something like that, the mom, I assume, who's taking a picture, and then the guy on the left, maybe the dad, who's just looking so bored. And then you've got this beautiful street scene with the lanterns. Very editorial. I'm happy with the images from Taiwan, to be honest. It was 3 days. And I think I kept 110 images from 3 days. When I was vlogging, the goal was kind of to shoot 1 image I loved every single day. On this trip, I probably have 14 to 20 images I love. I have probably 30 to 40 images that I'm willing to share. And then there's that 110 images that I've kept. So it was a really productive trip, and it's funny because when I was in the field in Taipei, I kept thinking, I'm not getting any shots. But the thing was, I had the camera in my hand so much more, taking so many more pictures than I normally do, that I didn't realize how many good photos I was making. I'm actually looking forward to things now. I feel like I'm starting to find a groove in this lack of vlogging. And speaking of the videos, I guess, this is going to be the last sit-down talk for a while. I don't want to be doing talking videos like this, but I feel like I needed kind of some therapy or to talk about the changes and to talk about these images from Taiwan. Moving forward, there's a vlog from Batanes, the trip to Batanes, which is this beautiful island in the north of the Philippines, which is like a paradise for landscape photographers. I've got a big video about landscape photography in Batanes. I've got some quick little teaching videos. I've got trips to Cebu to do waterfall chasing. I've got Bohol to the Chocolate Mountains coming up. I've got Singapore and Norway. There's just so much fun stuff coming up. I should also mention that I have a blog post from this shoot in Taiwan up on my website that shows you the locations I went and got these photos, so you guys can go check them out if you want. About the blog, as I'm getting off topic, about the blog, every single time I do a video over on my website, brendansadventures.com, I also do a blog post about it where you can see the photos. So if you're interested in like scrolling through them or looking at them a little bit longer, you can do that there. So yeah, that's it. Lots of fun stuff coming up on the channel. And I guess I'll see you guys on the next video. Thanks for bearing with me as I sit down and just chat. I'll see you next time. Peace.